Okay. I have one question for RCBC, Mr. Tan. I'm not talking about any account, okay? It's clear. I'm talking about policy in general of your bank. Does your bank have levels of authority when it comes to withdrawals in branches?
As a general policy, Your Honor, when funds are in an account, they are withdrawable at will by the depositor. You know,
By at will, you mean whatever the amounts, you just tell me, whatever the amounts are, the depositor can withdraw
they can, yes.
without, and the bank manager does not need any higher up authorization because the amount is large.
That's right, Your Honor.
And even if the amount is unusually large, there is no need to get authorization from higher authority.
That is the reality, Your Honor, yes.
Just a clarification, with the permission of the Chair.
Yes, Senator Recto.
Yes, I was reminded of the testimony earlier by the President, Mr. Tan, no? He mentioned earlier in his statement that this $81 million did not go through the head office and it went directly to the branch, the Jupiter branch. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I can talk about the general procedures of the bank. I cannot talk about this specific transaction, but it's straight through processing. Funds enter a dollar account, right? If then there's some human judgment that goes in. If they find it, a bit unusual, there's an internal freeze, but the branch management is given time to report to their superiors why this account should be released, right? I hope you understand that in general commerce, you just cannot freeze funds, right? Because customers have settlements to do. Like if someone were to buy stocks or bonds, they have settlement dates, no? And if we freeze accounts and try to get approvals, we may affect their business, no? The way it's done in global banks today, they now buy cognitive systems or artificial intelligence that looks at average transactions of clients. Because if you place a limit, the tendency is to go below the limit. If you remember when Amlac was introduced, the limit was $10,000. So the money launderers were remitting $9,999 20 times, right? And so banks had to introduce computer programs to look at unusual activities, common addresses, going below the limits. If we were to introduce limits, they will just go below that so that it's not in the radar screen.
No, I understand that. The question is, you had an opening statement earlier, and if I remember correctly, because I took down some notes, you mentioned something to the effect that these funds did not go through Treasury, did not go through the head office. It went straight to the branch, Jupiter branch. And that the import of which is that the discretion now was with the branch manager.
I believe my statement, Your Honor,
Yes.
the funds went to a dollar account. In general, no? I'm sorry, I cannot speak about this specific transaction, right?
But I think you did in your opening statement earlier.
No, he did not.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But okay, in practice, procedurally,
Right.
something of this magnitude from the U.S., from this corresponding Wells Fargo, because this money came from an intermediary bank, Wells Fargo, New York, Bank of New York, Mellon, Wells Fargo, New York, Citibank. Okay? $81 million went to the Philippines. Does it go straight to would it go to an account in a branch, or will it go first to the head office?
Again,
hypothetically.
Yes, hypothetically, Your Honor, while you're sleeping, if you have a dollar account,
Okay.
money will go into your account. The
Okay.
bank has no right to debit your account. The bank can only freeze it if they have a court order. That's
Okay.
the reality, Your Honor.
Okay.
And we're given 10 days to submit an STR report, even when you tag it
When you say STR, what does that mean?
a suspicious transaction report,
Okay.
right? So
You're given 10 days.
So you apply human judgment, someone tags it STR, even that STR under regulations must be decided by a committee because you don't want to wrongly accuse a depositor, right?
Okay.
So that committee meets once a week, goes there, decides whether it's
That
STR.
committee is a committee in the branch?
It's a committee of the head office, Your
Okay.
Honor, and it's comprised normally of most of the business heads. They decide if it's STR. STR is now submitted.
Who are the business heads?
Can you? Yeah.
May I answer that, Your
Yes, please,
Honor?
yes.
These would be the group heads. So
When you say group head, who are you referring to?
the head of the controller, for example, the
What does
head
he
of
do? What does
he's like the CFO. Like
Okay,
the CFO.
got it. Okay.
The head of
So
the
for every account, the CFO is involved?
for the filing, for the determination if a suspicious transaction report should be filed.
Okay.
Your Honor, this is a board committee composed of the heads of each group of our bank. So the head of legal and regulatory affairs, that's
Okay.
me. I'm part of
Okay.
the group.
Okay.
Our compliance is part of the group.
Okay.
Our controller is part. The head of our retail banking group is part, and the head of our operations group is part.
Okay.
So it's a
So
very
they go to every
senior
branch.
group.
They go to every branch.
We review the transactions which the AML department initially determines to be potentially suspicious.
Okay.
We discuss, we look at all the records, and we determine if the suspicious transaction report should be filed.
Okay.
We do this every week, Your Honor.
Okay. And were there STR reports filed?
Your Honor, we are not
You're
allowed,
not allowed
to discuss
it at
specifics
this
on
point
this.
in time. Okay. What is the procedure if, for example, there is a stop payment request from a foreign bank? Procedurally, what is the procedure for that?
Well, legally, Your Honor, the situation is the account holder where the amounts are credited is already legally the owner of the funds.
Correct.
So the branch, if once they're informed of the stop payment order, should issue a post-no debit order and determine what the basis of this stop payment order is. But we do not have...
And that order is submitted where?
It's determined internally, Your Honor. The post-no debit order is advised to the entire branch so that they will not allow any withdrawals. This is a very temporary order.
Okay, so the head office tells the branch.
No, Your Honor.
Oh.
Theoretically or in
Theoretically,
procedure,
ah.
if we receive a stop payment order, the settlements department will receive this and will email the same to the branch. And procedurally, the branch manager should make a post-no debit order, which is within the branch. It's a temporary order and is just sufficient to allow the branch to determine if there is basis for this, to inform ourselves.
Okay. Was this procedure followed?
Your Honor, we apologize, but because of the numerous secrecy laws that are in place, we are unable to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a procedure.
Yes, Your
to
Honor. Yes,
stop
Your Honor.
payment.
Yes.
Okay. And what you say is that you cannot inform the committee.
We cannot, Your Honor,
if the
but
procedure was followed.
we cannot, Your Honor, but procedurally and by essence and nature of what a bank is, the implementation will be at the branch level.
Okay.
Because they are the ones where customers go and where customers
Okay.
withdraw.
When
So,
were you informed by AMLA naman that there was a problem?
I believe, Your Honor, we cannot say anything
Okay.
with
Maybe I should
respect to
find
any
out from
account,
AMLA.
yeah.
AMLA, Miss Julia Abad, when did you inform RCBC that there was a problem?
I remember, Your Honor, that it was on February 11 when we received a call from the governor of the Central Bank of Bangladesh seeking assistance for us to freeze the stolen funds. That
Okay.
we immediately I think it was already around 7:30 in the evening that I tried to reach out to the RCBC officials and inform them that we received this request from the Central Bank of Bangladesh.
And then what happened?
Well,
When
I
you
understand-
informed the RCBC officials, what happened next?
Well,
on February 11?
I was informed that they're doing, they're looking into the matter, and that, that's what I recall, that they were already looking into the matter.
So how did you communicate with them? Verbally, through documentation?
On that night of February 11, I just called the office of the compliance officer of RCBC.
Okay.
It was around 7:30 in the evening, Your Honor.
Are they required to report to you every day, February 12, 13, 14, to update you on, to give you any updates with regard to the funds?
I can't recall the exact dates that they submitted suspicious transaction reports on these transactions, but under the law, they have 10 working days within which to submit STRs on any suspicious
Did
transactions.
they submit STRs to you?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Within the 10-day period?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Okay. And did they inform you that the funds have all been withdrawn?
There was no information.
No information. When did you find out that the funds were already withdrawn?
When we conducted our initial investigation, Your Honor.
And when did you start conducting the initial investigation?
Immediately after we received that call from the Central Bank of Bangladesh, we conducted our initial investigation.
So again, when did you find out that the funds were withdrawn? What date?
I can't recall the exact date, Your Honor, but based on what we have, based on our database, we check if there are any transactions, and then we filed the appropriate application for bank inquiry to authorize us to examine the subject bank accounts, Your Honor.
When did you do that?
We filed the ex parte application for bank inquiry on March 1, 2016, Your Honor.
So medyo delayed na.
Because we had to conduct an initial investigation, Your Honor. When we file an application for bank inquiry, we have to support our application for bank inquiry to convince the court that indeed the subject bank accounts are related to an unlawful activity. And we cannot just put there in the petition or in the application bare allegations. We have to support this with evidence. That's why there's a need
precisely, I'm
to
getting
conduct-
into this, no? Is there anything that Congress can do para next time mas mabilis yung galaw ng AMLA, for example, in such a situation? Kasi March 1 na sinabihan kayo February 11 by a counterpart central bank. Di ba?
Because
Bank of Bangladesh.
Yes, Your Honor. We also
So-
have to follow some procedure, Your Honor. We have, as I've said, we have to the Secretariat conducted an initial investigation, and then we have to submit our recommendation to the
Yeah, so
Council.
there's nothing Congress can do to hasten that process. Talagang mahirap yung trabaho ninyo and it takes time.
It's definitely difficult, Your Honor.
Okay. So there's nothing Congress can do as far as that is concerned. Were you in communication with the central bank governor?
After we received that call on February 11, Your Honor, on February 16, the Central Bank of Bangladesh sent 2 officials to our office, and they provided us with the pertinent documents in relation to the transaction, Your Honor.
Okay. Has the FBI been in touch with the AMLA?
I was the one who requested assistance from the FBI, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. I would assume, just for the record, that it is also important for the committee to note, because how it would appear to me, it is possible that there was connivance between junket operators, possible people in the bank, possible remittance agents, forex traders, and possibly hackers. Because kung totoo yung nababasa natin sa dyaryo that there is hacking that took place, And based on what I hear or what I read in the papers, in China, the hacking began in China, which is not part of our investigation. But nevertheless, it is important to know the personalities involved. And it's possible that some Chinese personality who did the hacking, okay, with the Bank of Bangladesh, was able to hack the Bank of Bangladesh one way or the other, get the New York Fed, okay, where the accounts of the Bank of Bangladesh were, to remit money through intermediate banks in New York to the Philippines. And these accounts were opened a year earlier, March or May of 2015. May plano na. Maliwanag. Okay? And they must have known people from the banks. Kasi dumaan ng bangko lahat ito eh. Maliwanag, dumaan sa bangko to. That cannot be denied here. We all agree with that. It went through the banking system. Okay? Accounts were opened. Okay? And then there are possible junket operators who probably know these Chinese personalities. Who are these hackers? I think that's something important also for the committee to determine. Maybe later, that's why I think it's important to listen to the testimony of Ms. De Guito, also in executive session. Kung nakilala niya, ito yung mga 4 na taon nagbukas ng account na to na hindi natin mahanap. And this person na Wei Kang Shu, apparently there must be immigration records. There are photographs. The money went to his account. Tingnan natin, pumasok sa 4 na account. Una, pumasok lahat sa RCBC. There are 4 accounts in RCBC. Dapat meron know your client rule. Okay? And then it found its way to a William Go account. Okay? And then it found its way to PhilRem. Then it found its way back to RCBC for the foreign exchange transaction. When did that happen, right? Okay, when did that happen? Amla, do you know when that happened? Kailan binalik ng PhilRem para ipalit yung pera sa piso? It went back to PhilRem. PhilRem deposited it in certain accounts and delivered in cash to kilala naman ni Ms. Salud Bautista tong Wei Xiangshu na posibleng kilala yung mga hackers. Di ba? Are we investigating that as well? Or hindi nakasama sa investigation ng AMLA yan?
I think that's already beyond our mandate, Your Honor. But I understand that the Central Bank of Bangladesh has already requested assistance from the U.S. government to look into this and probably identify who the possible hackers are.
Correct.
And
I would assume that that would be the interest also of the FBI. Sino to mga hackers na to? How did they get to know these Filipino personalities and other Chinese personalities who used our banking system? It's also possible that our banks did not know that this money will come from hackers. Right? But one way or the other, there are certain personalities who know these persons. And I think that maybe later on, if we could find out who these people look like, what are their immigration records, if we can get a copy of the CCTV on that February 1, there was testimony here that sa tingin niya, hindi kamukha ni William Go. But for the record, can you submit that to the committee? Diba?
We can do so, Your Honor.
Okay. So, all this information, so we can take a look. And then, if I'm not mistaken, is it correct, Ms. Abad, that there is an account in Hong Kong? May pumasok na $20 million in an account in Hong Kong. Is that correct?
we haven't verified that, Your Honor, but we are seeking the assistance of our counterparts in Hong Kong to provide us information if there's any.
So you're not sure yet,
We're not yet sure, Your Honor.
but you have leads that there is an account in Hong Kong.
There are some information, yes.
Di ba? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe later on we could ask other questions with regard to the other testimonies made also by the other individuals. Thank you.
Cognitive systems or artificial intelligence that looks at average transactions of clients, because if you place a limit there, the tendency is to go below the limit. If you remember, when AMLA was introduced, the limit was $10,000. So the money launderers were remitting $9,999 20 times, right? And so banks had to introduce computer programs to look at unusual activities, common addresses, going below the limits. If we were to introduce limits,
Depositor can withdraw
they can, yes.
without, and the bank manager does not need any higher up authorization because the amount is large.
That's right, Your Honor.
And even if the amount is unusually large, there is no need to get authorization from higher authority.
That is the reality, Your Honor, yes.
Just a clarification with the permission of the Chair.
Yes, Senator Recto.
Yes, I was reminded of the testimony earlier by the President, Mr. Tan, no? He mentioned earlier in his statement that
The branch management is given time to report to their superiors why this account should be released, right? I hope you understand that in general commerce, you just cannot freeze funds, right? Because customers have settlements to do. Like if someone were to buy stocks or bonds, they have settlement dates, no? And if we freeze accounts and try to get approvals, we may affect their business, no? The way it's done in global banks today, they now buy.
this $81 million did not go through the head office, and it went directly to the branch, the Jupiter branch. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I can talk about the general procedures of the bank. I cannot talk about this specific transaction, but it's straight through processing. Funds enter a dollar account, right? Then there's some human judgment that goes in. If they find it, a bit unusual, there's an internal freeze. But
Okay. I have one question for RCBC, Mr. Tan. I'm not talking about any account, okay? It's clear. I'm talking about policy in general of your bank. Does your bank have levels of authority when it comes to withdrawals in branches?
as a general policy, Your Honor, when funds are in an account, they are withdrawable at will by the depositor.
By at will, you mean whatever the amounts, you just tell me, whatever the amounts are, the